What's going on, guys? My name's Josh, one of the newest members of Inside the Circle Disc Golf. Thought I'd get on here today, kind of introduce myself and go through a in the bag, early season in the bag. There's definitely some potential for some changes to come just kind of as we progress through the seasons. I'll just start out talking about myself a little bit. So I started playing competitively in tournaments probably about a year and a half ago. Really kind of took last season, 2025, a little more seriously. Was able to progress my rating decently throughout the season. Started somewhere around 910, 915, ended up 927 by the end of the season. So hopefully we'll continue to progress that throughout this year. Season started out not great, honestly. Little rough start. Was able to definitely pick up some steam as the year went on, and towards the end of the season definitely came together. Really focused on trying to dial in throwing some different shots, namely with putters, mid ranges, things like that, whereas in PA, definitely calls for a lot of that. So was able to kind of dial that in, and that seemed to really pick things up for me. Aside from that, not too much really. Overall, I've been playing disc golf fairly regularly for a little over 2 years and been able to, progress fairly quickly through that time. So it's been great, been able to meet a lot of people, make a lot of new friends. So I've really enjoyed that. Aside from that, really not too much. We'll just get right into the in the bag, kind of talk about what I'm planning on throwing, what some potential changes could be throughout the year, and all that good stuff. So we'll get right into it. To start out, I do use the Squatch bag. I pretty much always used a Squatch bag. Used to use the Ezra Aderhold one, and now, as of last year, switched to this one, and I really enjoy it. So yeah, this works really well for me. Able to keep everything in there that I need, and not really have any problems. Does get a little bit heavy, especially with my huge water bottle on the side, but that's okay. Seem to handle that just fine. I'm not going to go over everything that I have in the side pockets or anything, but we'll go through the main stuff. On the outside, got the Disc Raptor, which is great, especially for these snowy conditions, and then a few towels here, which obviously are helpful as well. Aside from that, not too much to get into there. So we'll start kind of from the top, go from putters down through everything else. As far as putting putters are concerned, I've used this a set of Prodigy PA3s now for quite a while. I've put PA3s pretty much since I started playing tournaments, and they've just been, I think, probably the best putter I've ever come across. I specifically use the 300 plastic Prodigy. Just went with these. I really enjoy watching Broderick's content, so supported him. Bought a few sets of these. I'm now on my second set, but these have really been great. I tend to putt with some decent pace usually, so these don't glide too much, which I appreciate. And yeah, they just feel really comfortable in my hand. I do like a beaded putter, so these have really been great. Now we'll get more into kind of the throwing putters, which is some of my favorite slots. I just love throwing putters now that I can actually do it. So we'll get right into that. I'm gonna go with my kind of old trusty here. I've been using this for a while now. This is a LE Glow Discraft Challenger SS. This thing's been in my bag for a pretty long time, so it's definitely beat in a little bit. I use this mostly for pretty straight shots. I can get it to kind of flip and turn a little bit, but it's not grossly understable where it just burns over. So really, I can throw a lot of different lines with this disc, and it's just been really really great for me. Usually looking for up to 300 feet on these max, but usually sticking in that 250-foot range, which really works well. I absolutely love the Chally SS. This thing is money. So then stepping up from that, this is a very recent add to the bag. Now, one of the things you'll notice as we go through my bag is a lot of the stuff that I throw is old, out of production, rare, fairly valuable stuff. That's just one aspect of disc golf that really intrigues me is kind of collecting. So I have a lot of pretty rare stuff. So you'll see a lot of that as we go through the bag. So first, kind of on that list, this is a super old but in beautiful shape. This is a Discraft Crystal Flex Challenger. This thing is so old that it doesn't even have any tooling on the inside. For those of you that know a little bit of history about Discraft and all their discs and all that stuff, if it doesn't have any tooling, usually that means it's pretty darn old. This was a recent addition. This is pretty much just to complement that Chally SS, a little more stable. This thing will go pretty much dead straight. Doesn't turn a whole lot. and it's pretty new, so it hasn't been beat in yet. But this thing's pretty flexy, which is really nice for this time of year where it's a little colder. It's also kind of hit and stick, which is pretty nice. Same thing with this one, distance wise. Looking at that 250 to 300 maximum there, but this one is definitely a little straighter, or a little more stable, I should say, than what that Chally SS is. So, do really like the feel of the Challenger in the hand, and hot take, better than a Luna. All right, moving on from there, we'll get into kind of the overstable throwing putter. This has been newer to the bag. I had another one, a DGA Breaker. These things are awesome as far as overstable throwing putters go. They're shallow, which for a lot of people is very comfortable. I find that to be pretty comfortable in the hand as well. But my other one seemed to beat in really fast, so I just replaced it, put this one in the bag. So this is newer, but the Breaker is very good. I can get it to go straight if I punch it on a little flatter, a little more Annie, but typically it'll kind of have that hook up at the end and not fly quite as far as what those other putters will. This thing's pretty stiff. Really just a great, great throwing putter. And yeah, that's really all I have to say about that. Moving right along, we're getting more into that kind of approach disc category. So I have a couple of zones that we'll go through first. This is another one very similar to that Challenger, kind of same run, very old zone, no tooling, anything like that. This is a Discraft Crystal Flex zone. We talk about runs of zone. I don't think I've ever come across a better one than this. It just has that perfect stability to it. Same thing, fairly flexy, hit and stick, that sort of thing. You're not going to get too much skip out of this. But this thing has been a phenomenal addition to the bag within the last couple months. I absolutely love it. Yeah, not too much to say. Everybody knows what a zone is, but this is a great run. Now we get into the next zone, which a lot of people will recognize, the old Paul McBeth four claw zone. These things are, as a lot of people know, very sought after. But this one's beat to heck. Very straight flying, 300 foot, maybe a little more, depending on if I get a hold of it or not. Those 300 foot, pretty straight shots. This thing is awesome. Put it on a little Annie, it'll hold the turn. This thing is just great. But yeah, this I actually got secondhand. So for those of you who are like, why would you ever throw a four claw zone? I got it secondhand. I didn't throw it brand new. So yeah, this has been an awesome addition to the bag just for those straighter, longer shots there. And then last but not least, when it comes to approach discs, work into here, this is a newer one as well, a DGA Blast. This thing is pretty beefy. I'm newer to throwing many forehands, so I've been trying to dial that in a little bit more. I was pretty much last season backhand only. It was very rare to see me throw a forehand. Now that I'm getting into that a little bit more, I wanted something to fill that slot. The DJ Blast has been awesome. This thing's not going to go very far for sure, and it's just going to kind of get that flight and that dump. Yeah, this thing has been awesome. So really good addition to the bag here. My throwing putters and things like that are always cycling out in and out a little bit, so that's kind of always subject to change. But this has been kind of the most steady lineup that I've had in quite a while. As we progress down, we'll just go into more of the utility discs here. These are kind of fun. This may be a mold that a lot of people aren't really familiar with. This is a Discraft Extreme. This is the Ezra Aderhold edition. This came out sometime last year. I pretty much solely use this disc for forehand rollers. If you guys need a forehand roller disc, this thing is the ticket. It is amazing. It flies well if you actually throw it for air shots too, but it really is pure beef. So yeah, if you need something like that, this works. But this is just a forehand roller disc for me, just kind of that get out of jail free card. This thing is awesome. It's a jawbreaker, kind of Z flex. So it does have a little bit of flex to it, but still, stiff enough to hold up to those rollers. And then everybody's favorite, we have the Captain's Raptor. This is a first run cap wrap. Definitely, I think, the best run of cap wrap since there have been so many now. Again, super beef. Had to have it in Broncos colors, of course. So that's why I bagged this one specifically. But this is just air shots, something you need to get to the ground fast, that sort of thing. These things are awesome. So that takes care of that. We'll move into the mid ranges now. Right now, I'm bagging, I think, 6 mids, which is a lot, clearly. But this is probably the area of my bag that has the most subject to change as we get into the season a little bit more. There is some overlap as far as some discs that you'll see, but I'll kind of explain these as we go. So the first one that we have here is a Discraft Buzz SS. Now this is one of the old ones, no flight numbers, anything like that. Beautiful circle stamp. I just love this kind of old style. So there's a fair amount of discs that look like this in my bag. I just absolutely love it. This disc is kind of that hyzer flip to straight, or even throw it flat, hold the turn, anywhere from 300 to, 330-ish foot shots, depending on the shape. Buzz SS has been in my bag in different variations for as long as I can really remember. Absolutely love this thing, and it's just so pretty. So absolutely love this guy. As we move through here, kind of have every iteration of a buzz that you can have. So now we just have the regular buzz. Now this is the Paul Macbeth 5 claw buzz. This thing, I love the look of it, but the flight is great. I don't find myself pulling this one out quite as much. This one, throw flat, pretty much go straight or get even a slow drift to the right, or just kind of that hyzer flip, through a gap. But this has been a newer addition to the bag, so this is where some of that subject to change kind of comes in. But so far, really liking this, just a step up from that Buzz SS. Great disc. Everybody loves the Buzz, so this one's really cool. All right, so as we're moving through here, move to here, have the Innovamade Discmania MD3, another, fairly sought after disc. This one is used. This thing is very new to the bag as of like a week ago, so I'm still kind of testing it out. But as far as preliminary tests go, it's kind of hyzer flip, gentle turn, but basically just dead straight. This may have an opportunity of kicking that buzz out of the bag. This thing is awesome, and it's super cool looking, which obviously, can't go wrong with that. So yeah, this has been a new addition to the bag. We'll see if it stays in. I have a feeling it will, but this thing is awesome. As we move through to the next one, this is kind of old reliable when it comes to mid-ranges. Discraft Wasp. Again, that same kind of stamp buzz that was on the Buzz SS, that old circle stamp, no flight numbers. This thing has been a workhorse now for months. You can throw just about any shot with it, which is why I like it so much. Super reliable. You can always lean on it. If you're kind of in between, it's like, let me just go with something that I trust. This is that disc for me. I absolutely love it. If I throw it flat, it just goes dead straight. Little bit of hookup at the end, but nothing crazy. Yeah, I can even get it to turn a little bit, but it is stable enough to not, or throw it on hyzer, it'll just kind of stay on hyzer. This thing is absolutely one of my favorite discs in the bag. I know a lot of people don't throw the Wasp, which I think is a crime. Now we'll move in. So like I said, kind of every run of or every type of buzz that you could have. We have the Buzz OS here. Again, not a lot of people love the Buzz OS. I like it because it doesn't go far, and it just kind of holds that hyzer. It doesn't flip, doesn't turn, nothing like that. It's not as overstable as I think the flight numbers would lead you to believe, but definitely a really good disc. This is a first run Buzz OS. Again, same stamp. This thing is absolutely beautiful. Yeah, this is newer to the bag within the last couple months, but really, really liking it. So just kind of a step up from that Wasp. Yeah, this thing's great. All right, last but not least for the mids is one of the other ones that I've leaned on for pretty much all of my disc golf career, is the Dynamic Discs Justice. Funny story about the Justice. Not this one specifically, but the Justice was one of the first discs I ever bought before I knew what flight numbers meant. Me probably a couple months into playing disc golf, buying a Justice. If you guys know how overstable these things are, I didn't throw it for a while. Once I was actually able to figure out how to throw, this thing became a staple in my bag. Mostly in the past, mostly just backhands, but now this is my forehand mid for sure. Now that I'm getting into throwing some more of those, just absolute beef. But man, the Justice is just so good. Has probably a little more glide than what the numbers would lead you to believe. Yeah, the Justice, I don't think will ever come out of the bag. I have an ace with a Justice. I've used it for pretty much the entire time I played disc golf. Absolutely love this thing. And I think this is the only dynamic mold I have in my bag, but this thing's money. So yeah, a lot of mids. Definitely a lot of courses around here call for that, 300-ish range shot, whether it's dead straight or, just kind of that shot shaping. It's a lot easier to control those. So I really like to have a variety of mids for those shot shapes. So now we'll move into fairway drivers here. Okay, I'm missing one here. I'm not sure where I left that, so maybe we'll kind of fill in here. But the one that I'm missing is a Discraft Sting, which I wish I had to show, because that's a mold I don't think it's made anymore, and not a lot of people throw it. But I believe the flight numbers are roughly around 7.5, -2.1. It's just that perfect hyzer flip to turn disc. The one that I have is in titanium plastic. Absolutely love it. It's you can get it to go pretty straight if you throw it on enough hyzer, but really it's that hyzer flip to turn on the backhand that I like. Get that 320 to 350 on my best day with that disc. But yeah, that's been a really good addition to the bag. I have a few of different ones in different plastics that I may have to throw in the bag because I don't know where I left the other one. After that, this is probably old reliable when it comes to fairway drivers. Now, you probably can't see the stamp, but this is a Latitude 64 Explorer. This is an old run of Ricky Wysocki. As you can probably see, Ricky's my favorite touring pro. Absolutely love Ricky. I've bagged Ricky Explorer for quite a long time now. This one specifically, I mean, you can tell the stamp's pretty much gone. This one, it's fairly old and beat in, so it goes very straight. It'll even turn a little bit sometimes, but if you throw it on some hyzer, it'll kind of hold that line. This thing has just been an absolute workhorse for me over the last year or so. I absolutely love this. I don't think the Explorer will ever be coming out of my bag. And I have this run specifically, I have a few backups as well. That's one of the things that I try and do with a lot of these discs. A lot of them are old, out of production. I try to find backups for those specific runs just because I'm picky, I guess. But I try and do that so that I can have some backups in case I do lose them. If I ever lost this one specifically, I'd probably cry. Actually, where we are right now is Cadorra State Park. I went swimming in the lake to get this back because I chucked it in the lake. So if that tells you how much I like this disc, that is proof. Moving on, the last of the 7-speeds here. This is a Innova Star T-Bird. Now, again, for those of you who maybe are in the collector kind of group, this is an Avery Jenkins Star T-Bird. Again, somebody would probably say, why the heck are you throwing that? I also got this secondhand, so it had already been thrown. This is definitely more overstable than what my Explorer is, even though they have the same flight numbers. So this will go pretty straight, 300 feet or so, but then it'll have that dump at the end a little bit more. So I like to have just kind of that step up from the Explorer, which is exactly what this is. And T-Bird just feels great in the hand. You can never go wrong with a classic like this one. I do have some backups for this as well. They are brand new though. They're pretty valuable, so I'm not sure that I would ever break those out of the bag and throw them. So if I ever lose this one, I may just be finding a different disc to slot in for this guy. So yeah, that's really it for the 7-speeds. Now we're moving into 9-speeds. I have just two, other than the cap wrap that I already showed. So the first one, another pretty valuable disc. This is a Discraft Undertaker, the 4-claw Paul Macbeth. This is a newer addition to the bag, but man, I absolutely love this. I had never thrown an Undertaker. I literally bought this because I thought it looked cool, and I was like, well, let me go toss it. Hyzer flip to dead straight. This thing is just a beauty. It'll push a little bit further than what some of those other discs will, so might be looking at that 330, 340 range, something like that, at least for me with this disc. If I really get a hold of it, maybe more, but at least as far as controlled shots, that's what you're looking at. But this thing is beautiful to look at and has a really great flight. So I'm looking forward to using this disc more, getting more comfortable with it, and hopefully throwing some good shots this year with this guy. Next up, another classic Innova Firebird. This thing, I don't know if you guys can see that. This thing is sick. I absolutely love how it looks. Came across a couple of these, so I do have at least one of these at home as a spare. These are the flat top Champ Firebirds. You just can't go wrong. Perfect. This is mostly a forehand disc for me, but I can absolutely throw it on backhands if I need to, spike hyzers, things like that. But definitely more of a forehand disc, which is why I prefer the flat top. Not going to go super far, but man, this thing is sweet. And again, just really cool to look at. So absolutely love this disc. A little less stable than the cap wrap, so kind of fill in that slot. Get into the 10-speeds here, which I feel like is a slot that not a lot of people throw, but I have two. First one, classic Discraft ESP Avenger. Again, circle stamp, no flight numbers, that sort of thing. Beautiful picture on the back that somebody drew, whoever had this before me, so that's kind of cool. This is a newer addition to the bag. I've been throwing it for a couple months. Very straight flying, and that's probably just this one specifically because it's older, more beat in. But yeah, definitely a little more distance, pushing 350 or even a little bit beyond that if I get a hold of it. This has been just a great disc. I love how it feels in the hand. I just find it to be very comfortable. And again, can't go wrong with that old classic Discraft stamp. Just absolutely love that. So yeah, definitely looking forward to throwing this a little bit more. But again, have a few backups of these because the Avenger is not made anymore. Just such a money disc. And then a step up from that, we go to the Onyx. Now, the Onyx is one of those discs that's interesting because a lot of people throw them. You see a lot of pros throw them, and they're throwing ones that are pretty beat in. Obviously, they throw a lot further than I do, but they kind of get that hyzer flip, even a turn with them. This disc is definitely more overstable for me. Now this is a newer one. I had a few Onyxes that were more beat in, and I wasn't crazy about that. This is more stable. This is one of the Paul Macbeth prototype ones. So I've picked up a few of these recently just to have some backups, but man, these prototype ones, they just fit that slot perfectly, straight, but then they get that consistent fade at the end. Just very, very controllable. You know what it's going to do. And again, the Onyx is one of those discs, very comfortable in the hand. I almost feel like it's kind of maybe a later iteration of what the Avenger was, just a little bit different. But Discraft is getting a little creative in their 10 speeds, especially coming out with the Halix and all that stuff. But these prototype Onyxes have been very good. I do really, really enjoy these. Like I said, just very controllable and, again, very pretty to look at. So can't go wrong with that. We're getting close to the end here, so we'll progress into the distance drivers here. My main distance driver of choice is a Destroyer. I have 4 of them in the bag. Kind of explain why I have each one, and then I have a couple of other ones after that. But the 4 Destroyers that I have, 3 of them are Ricky Destroyers, of course, had to go with that, and then the other one is a Calvin Destroyer. So we'll go through the Ricky ones first. So the first one that I have here is just a kind of a classic Star Destroyer with the Wysocki signature at the bottom. This thing's great. This one, for whatever reason, it's 172, so it's not super light, but this one flips and kind of holds turn. This thing just flies forever as long as I don't burn it over, but this thing is definitely my understable Destroyer. So a little harder to control, but definitely if you need that kind of flip to turn or just a hyzer flip to get that max distance, this thing is great. So that's the first one. Second one, we'll go here. This one is kind of a step up from what that one is. This was actually my first Ricky Destroyer. This is the old Raptor stamp that they ran. I don't even know how long ago, but this I actually got used. But again, this one's kind of a hyzer flip, more dead straight. I can get it to turn, but this thing's definitely a step up from what that red one is. Absolutely love this thing. I've thrown some of my best drives with this disc. The only downside is the color's not great. I am colorblind, so I have kind of a hard time finding some of these colors. So this is not a great color for me, but it just flies so well. I can't justify taking it out of the bag. And I do have some backups of this exact run as well. So this will be staying in my bag until, hopefully it doesn't happen, but until I lose it. This thing is awesome. All right, and then the next step up from that is another Ricky Destroyer. This is the old Robo stamp. I think these are the ones that you see most often. Has the Huck Lab die over top of it, which is absolutely sick. I think this is probably my prettiest looking Destroyer, just as far as having that stamp over top is super cool. This one is pretty much just dead straight. It'll have that hookup at the end, but I have thrown some of my furthest drives with this Destroyer specifically, and I think it just fits my preferred release angle and that sort of stuff really, really well. Absolutely love this one. This one's 171, at least penned on the back. So a little bit lighter, but definitely goes a mile. I absolutely love this one. And then last but not least for the Destroyers, this is newer to the bag. This is a 2021 Calvin Halo Destroyer. If you guys know anything about the Halo plastic, if you look at the outside and it looks like this, that's an older run. I'm not crazy about the newer Halo. This stuff is absolutely money. You want to talk about beef for a Destroyer? This thing is absolutely beef. This thing's also very new, so it hasn't been beat in much at all. If I get a hold of it, it will still go extremely far, but it's not going to turn at all. It's just going to have that straight with the consistent hookup at the end. This thing is awesome. I've been trying to find backups for this. I've gotten a couple, so this will definitely be a staple in the bag for quite a while. The Halo plastic also just holds up for such a long time, so I don't think I have to worry about this beating in too quickly. All right, last 2 distance drivers here. This next one that I'll show you, this probably has some potential for coming out of the bag, but it's just so pretty that I don't know. Maybe it'll just stay in there just so I can look at it every so often. This is a Discraft Paul Macbeth 4-Claw Force. I absolutely love the forces in the 4-Claw. I just think they're super cool. This one I got recently. I've had a force in the bag for quite a while, but this force specifically I just recently put in. Definitely not as overstable. It'll actually get a little bit of a flip up to it if I get a hold of it. So this is newer. Got to test it out a little bit more, kind of see if it has a slot in there that's not already filled by something else. But this thing's just so cool looking. I couldn't keep it out of the bag. But you know, with most of these distance drivers. My max distance on my best day is probably 450, maybe a little bit more if I really get a hold of it, but that's more so with those destroyers that I showed you, not the ones that are not those discs that are more overstable. Last but not least, this is very new to the bag, and now that I'm throwing forehands, I was looking for a designated forehand distance driver. I had cycled through some other ones, Prodigy X2, which just ended up not being as overstable as I wanted it to be. I think a PD2 as well, just wasn't crazy about the hand feel. The Prodigy D1, 12504, 400 plastic. This thing is very, very comfortable in the hand, which to me is one of the most important things. It's also hard to find a distance driver that's bored flat. This is probably as close as I've gotten to finding something that's flat, which is what I'm looking for in my forehand discs. This thing is just awesome. It's also a nice color. For some people, I have a hard time seeing pink, but it is what it is. It's really nice looking, but definitely overstable enough to handle the torque of a forehand. And yeah, it also goes in the basket on your first throw with it, which you can't argue with those results. So this thing will hopefully be holding a place in my bag for quite a while. But the downside to this is going to be trying to find another one that's very flat if I were to lose it or beat it in too much to where I need a new one. That's the last of the distance drivers. Well, that's the last of all the discs, actually. This is my bag. You can see I try and kind of fill most slots within every distance that I'm looking for. Again, definitely some subject to change as the year goes on and we try out some different things on some different courses, but definitely looking forward to the season. Looking forward to do more content on here. And yeah, just hanging out with you guys. So thanks for watching. This has been my In the Bag, and we'll see you on whatever we decide to do next. So if you guys are looking for any new discs, any new things like that, we do have a new affiliate with us, Daddy Disc Golf. They are located in Maryland. But if you guys are looking for any new plastic, definitely go check them out. I don't think you're going to be able to find a lot of the stuff that I have in here, but the newer stuff, they'll be able to hook you up with just about anything that you need.